Welcome back to FOREpar, and thank you for joining me on my quest for par. Today's video, we're going to be looking at a self. Welcome back to FOREpar, and thank you for joining me on my quest for par. Today's video, we're going to be looking at a at-home physical screen that you can do to look at the 5 basic physical skills needed for a functional golf swing. But before we do that, if you haven't hit the like button, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that so you don't miss any content coming out. Now, onto the video. Ever wonder why you struggle with the right tempo or sequencing your golf swing like the pros? Well, TBI has coined the phrase 5 gangs, or in other words, areas that are affecting your golf swing. So follow along and join me in this TBI screen. The first test we're going to look at is the pelvic tilt test, which is used to look at pelvic and lumbar mobility. This is going to show us how well you're able to transfer the force from the lower body to the upper body and create power in your golf swing. So what you want to do is you want to get in a 5-iron posture, which is kind of what I showed you there with the 5-iron there. And from there, you're just going to see if you can tilt your pelvis forward and back, causing this nice arch in the back and flattening of the back. What we don't want to see is a lot of knee movement, a lot of upper body movement, and we don't want to see you shaking. Other than that, we're just really looking for overall ability to perform a tilt. The next test we're going to look at is the single leg bridge extension test. This is testing mainly for your glute and your hamstring strengthening. And seeing how well you can control and maintain this position right here as you see. You're supposed to perform this test for 10 seconds. I think I actually do 30 seconds here. And that's because there's also a test like this in physical therapy that does look at 30 seconds to look more at endurance. So I thought it was good to just go ahead and go the whole 30 seconds there on each side. I do pretty good on the left side. However, when we get to the right side, you'll notice towards the end, I start to cramp a little bit and start getting a little shaky and lose that nice posture. And yeah, you can see it right here. I get a lot of arching in my back, kind of a pelvic tilt, and I start shaking a little bit. So a lot of weakness in that right glute, which is probably causing me to lose a lot of power as I start my downswing. So gotta really work on that moving forward, but a good test nonetheless. The last test in this core cluster test is the single leg balance test, which is just looking for overall stability in your core and ability to maintain your stability in your golf swing. So you're going to get into a single leg stance, arms by your side, knees about 90 degrees up. And then we're just trying to hold this position for as long as we can, hoping to get to about 30 seconds. If you notice any major swaying, any bouncing around, hopping around, twisting, that's probably a sign of instability. I'm not using the right shoes for this, which is why I had that little bit of a stumble there. But overall, not too bad. I do have left ankle issues, so that's also probably what played into the left side looking a lot worse than this right side. Moving forward, we're going to go through 3 tests to look at the body's ability to dissociate the lower half of the body, which is very important in the sequencing of your downswing. So it's looking at good hip mobility, good spine mobility, good pelvic mobility, and that's where we're starting here with the pelvic rotation. So we're really just looking at, can you separate your lower body, your pelvis, from your upper body, keeping it nice and still. So I don't have anybody to help me here. Typically what you would do is have somebody hold your shoulders and see if it's easier for you to dissociate, which I imagine it would be. Next, we're going to look at how well the lower quarter can rotate around the axis of your body or your spine of your body. So you want to get you a 6-iron because that's about 60 degrees, which is what we want to be able to rotate to. So single leg position. If you're a right-handed golfer like I am, we're working on the backswing right now. Seeing how well my trail leg can rotate, go into that internal rotation, which I actually do pretty good. I get a little bit of a trunk lean, but not too bad. And you can see my lead leg rotates pretty well as well. So my backswing's not too bad, maybe a little bit of trunk sway, but nothing too crazy there. We'll flip it over and take a look at the downswing, see how well my left leg or my lead leg can move into internal rotation, my trail leg or right leg can move into external rotation. So again, not too bad. I get a little bit of trunk flexion there, which isn't really ideal, but overall not too bad, getting about that 60 degrees. And same with my my trail leg going to external rotation. Not very good, getting a little bit more hip hinge there than I would like. The last test in this lower extremity dissociation cluster is toe touch. Just looking at hamstring mobility, seeing how well the body can get into that flexion. And you can see I do pretty good there. What you can't see, maybe I'll turn to the side in a second, but what you can't see is I do get a lot of knee hyperextension. So not as ideal as I'd like, especially on that left side. You can see the right stays pretty flexed actually, but the left gets into hyperextension. We definitely need to work on that. So this next test isn't a part of the actual TBI assessment, but this is a physical therapy assessment that I do, just looking at overall trunk extension, trying to see if those shoulder blades can get past the heels, which they do just fine. So getting back into the TBI screen, we're going to go through upper body dissociation test now, starting with torso rotation. So still out of that 5-iron posture, just seeing this time how well your upper body can rotate around your pelvis. And you can see I have a lot of trouble with this. My pelvis likes to rotate with my upper body. Again, if you had somebody to stabilize your pelvis and see how well your upper body can move, then you can kind of figure out if it's more of a core stability issue or just a mobility issue. Our next test here further helps us kind of differentiate between whether it's a true joint limitation or just a stability issue. So you're going to get to a chair. Get you 2 golf clubs, make it a 45-degree angle, and you're going to get you another club, put it around your shoulders, and you're going to see how well you can rotate. So right now I'm just getting that extra club and then going into the rotation here. So what we're looking at is seeing how well your thoracic spine can get into rotation both on the backswing and the downswing. The camera angle is not great here, but I actually have decent rotation, maybe a little bit limited to the right, but my left rotation meets that criteria that we're looking for. Our final test in this cluster is a cervical spine test, going all the way up the chain, just seeing how well your cervical spine can move from side to side with a little bit of lateral flexion. So we're looking side to side and then chin tucking to see if we can bring our chin to our collarbone. As you can tell, I do very well with this. I have very minimal neck issues from time to time, but overall nothing to write home about. This next cluster of tests is looking at how well we can get into and maintain our golf posture. So we're going to run through 3 tests here. The first one is a shoulder test, 90-90. What we're looking at is seeing how well you can externally rotate your shoulder and get that forearm past your shoulder, the spine of your shoulder blade. My camera angle is terrible here. You can't really tell. I get pretty good external rotation with that lead arm when I'm standing upright. Now in my golf posture, we can kind of see it's a little bit limited there. I still am able to get some external rotation, but I don't have full motion there. When going over to my trail arm, you can see that I have good rotation there also in an upright position. But then as I get into my golf posture, which again, it's out of a 5-iron, again, you can see that I have a little bit of limitation getting into that. So that's going to limit my full ability to get into a full back swing, which is very noticeable on the last video if you watched that. The next test is looking at your lat mobility, which is a very important test when looking at loss to posture and over the top mechanics, which is something I struggle with. Again, you can't really tell by this angle of the camera, but I don't get my arms back to the wall, indicating some definite issues with my lat mobility. The last test in this cluster, but definitely the most important, is the overhead deep squat. This test has been most researched by the TBI, and they say that this is the single most important test to see how well your golf swing is going to be. What you're looking at is trying to get into a full squat with your heels on the ground, looking for femurs to be below horizontal level and making sure everything is aligned. You can see I struggle very heavily with that, not only maintaining posture, but good depth. Moving forward, I had a few more tests that I like to go through as a physical therapist, and that's just whole body rotation. As you can see, I get pretty good rotation there as a body unit. Maybe a little bit limited in my trunk to the left there. And then I like to look at a reverse lunge. A reverse lunge can tell us how well the hips themselves are doing and performing. My right side looks pretty good. Everything is in alignment. Maybe a little bit of glute weakness, as you can see as I fall. My left side, my right leg flings out to the side, indicating some possible left-sided joint issues. Our last cluster is looking at the ability to set and release our golf club. So looking at wrist and hand mobility. So get you a 6-iron again, and what we're going to look at here first is wrist flexion and extension. Just going down with flexion to get in line with that 6-iron. It shows us that we have pretty good flexion of our wrist. As you can see, I do pretty well there. Then we're going to look at extension, seeing if we can get up into extension. Again, getting well past that 60-degree-ish angle. We'll flip over to the other side, do the exact same thing. Going down first into flexion. Looks pretty good there. And then up into extension here in a second. Hardest part was trying to keep it in line with my forearm. As you can see, the way of the club head wanted to always go down. Wrist extension looks maybe a little bit limited on the right side, but overall pretty good. The lack of wrist mobility can lead to compensations in your golf swing. Next test is looking at wrist hinging, looking to see how well you can bend your thumb up towards the ceiling and down towards the ground. As you go up, we're looking for about 20 degrees, and as you go down, looking for about 30 degrees. This is kind of just an eyeball test. My left hand looks pretty good. Definitely an ulnar deviation, which is going down. It looks great. Maybe a little bit limited coming into radial deviation. Same on my right side. Looks good coming up, or going down. Looks maybe a little bit limited coming up. The last test, which I'm realizing now I got backwards, is the forearm rotation test. Just technically the first test, but you're looking at how well you can rotate your palm up and down. Basically what we're looking at here is the ability to get your arm to about 80 degrees going up and down. I'm actually was surprised with this test. I thought I would do really well, but my pronation, which is palm turning down, is limited on both sides, which definitely could be limiting my ability to properly load and rotate and get into the correct slot position. As we finish up the screen, I get everything plugged in. You can see here my top areas of issues, starting with the forearm pronation and ending down there with the overhead deep squat. So you can see I have some areas I definitely got to work on. So make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss a single episode of my journey to a better golf fitness.